Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 12 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts Turtle, Sean, and Mike. Thank you for joining us today. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good. Was feeling sick last week, but I'm ready and raring to go today.
I'm here. I'm excited. We're talking anime, baby.
I'd be doing much better if allergies weren't absolutely kicking my ass for the past 2 weeks.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm feeling some of that.
The congestion has been nonstop, and I'm tired of blowing my nose.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say I take some medicine for it on occasion, like as needed, kind of basis. Um, but it's always
I
been a problem for me.
I don't, just because part of it is stubbornness, and part of it is also like it's not affecting my daily life so much that I feel like I have to take medicine. It's like, okay, I'm congested. My voice might sound a little weird every once in a while, maybe a cough here and there, but it's not like I can't see with like wet, watery eyes and foggy vision and everything.
Yeah, for me, growing up, I didn't know I was allergic to dogs, and then my parents got a dog. Uh, Medicine was crucial to being alive.
Yeah,
I guess I'm super lucky where I don't have any allergies that I'm aware of anyway.
I'm
That is
bad.
nice.
I'm bad to the pollen and grass.
There's been a lot of pollen the past couple years.
Yeah.
My car's covered in like they're coated in yellow. I don't have a garage. So like they're parked outside and yeah, coated in yellow every
Yep,
day.
mine too.
So Sean, how's Japan?
Well, for anyone who's been following our Instagram, which you should, you'll see that I spent a little bit of time in Japan recently, about 10 days. Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, and some of the countryside in between. I even hit the onsen, the hot springs. Man, what an experience! The whole trip. I could just have a whole episode ranting about Japan. But some people ask me, they say, "What was your favorite part of Japan?" I guess I would say that I really just love Tokyo in general. I'm a big anime nerd. There was so much to do from Akihabara to Nakano Broadway to all the cafes like the Final Fantasy 14 cafe. And there are other like there's a Dragon Quest cafe, and gosh, there was a building in Shibuya where at the top they had a Pokemon Center with a gigantic Mewtwo, like in a capsule. It was so cool. And next to it was a Nintendo store, a Capcom store, a One Piece store, and a Koei Tecmo store. And I was like, was this built for me? Like, this is like everything I want. And I understand there's more to it than shopping, but boy, did I spend more money than I should have.
What did you get souvenir wise, or what was your favorite souvenir?
Oh man. Well, number one, we did bring back a bunch of snacks.
Of course.
Yeah, Japanese snacks, stuff you can't get here. That's for sure. And the packaging is so cute. Like everything there is so cute. It's unbelievable. Found some really interesting and rare stuff. Number one, everything from the Final Fantasy 14 cafe was super cool. Every time you order an item, they give you like a coaster. It's just a little piece of cardboard, but there's a finite number of them, and we wanted to collect all of them. And I'm ashamed to say it almost, but we went to the Final Fantasy 14 cafe 3 times. I know you're like, Sean. There's a lot of food to explore in Japan, but the Final Fantasy 14 cafe, if you ordered 50 items, and we were traveling with a bunch of other people, see like 15 other people, when people ordered an item, you got a stamp. So some people who went with us to the cafe gave us their stamps. So in 3 trips, we got 50 stamps, 50 items ordered, which is a lot of items when you consider, each item was probably $10 per order, right? And then they gave you a like a slate coaster, maybe you want to call it. It's made out of slate, and it has one of the jobs from the game. And I chose the white mage one. My wife also plays, but she's like, well, she said the game means more to you, so you should pick the one. So I got a white mage slate coaster, And one of my other interesting things is from the Koei Tecmo store. I'm a big fan of the Atelier series. The Atelier Ryza anime was actually just announced recently, and they're going to get a 1 hour premiere. I'm going through the game on Switch right now. That was actually my travel game for the plane rides in Japan, and when I had a little bit of downtime on the bus that we were on, toting us back and forth. And they're made by a studio called Gust, and Gust is owned by Koei Tecmo. And so I went to the Koei Tecmo store. I found a couple Atelier merch things that finding Atelier merch is so difficult in America. And if you can find it, it's ultra overpriced. So as far as souvenirs, I'm going to say some of my Atelier merch and my Final Fantasy 14 coasters were definitely my favorite pickups.
You couldn't bring back the giant Mewtwo as a souvenir?
I couldn't bring my giant Mewtwo, and they wouldn't let me take the life-size Gundam that I visited. I visited two Gundams, the Unicorn Gundam right outside the Gundam Factory store, which had the biggest selection of Gundams that I could find, and then there was the factory that had the 1-to-1 scale Gundam. The Unicorn Gundam was like 1-to-6 scale, maybe 1-to-5 scale, but the one the actual life size one had special edition Gundams that were like you could only get at that attraction. So I looked up one of the things, Haro. If anyone watches Gundam, they know Haro is. He's almost like a little mascot character. He's shaped like a ball, and there was a Haro that specifically had the colors for the factory, which are white and blue. And I looked it up on Amazon. Here in America, that Haro was worth $40. I got it for $6
Yeah.
equivalent US there. I'm not going to resell stuff. I want to keep it, of course, but like that's the fun of going there is that like you can get souvenirs. Sure, maybe I could buy those souvenirs in America for like 8 times the price.
Yeah.
So it was cool to pick up some stuff at an affordable price and bring it home. So my Gundam stuff from there is also a very good souvenir. I spent too much.
Yeah, but you figure it's a once in a lifetime trip.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping it's people say once in a lifetime. I'm hoping it's more than once in a lifetime personally. But if we go back, we're not going to do the same things. I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm not going to go see the life size Gundam again. I'm just not going to. Like it's they might take. They're actually supposed to take it down by now, but because of COVID, in the reopening, they decided to extend how long the Gundam was going to be out there. So we got lucky because there's a possibility it was going to be torn down by the time we got there. So but it may not be there next time we're there, and that's why I had to get the souvenirs. Then I had to record a video, which, by the way, check out our YouTube. For listeners on Spotify, I don't really know if you know that we also have a YouTube channel where you can catch things like my 10-minute video of the show of the life size Gundam moving, and both Turtle and Mike here have done unboxing videos for trading cards. If you're a trading card fan, we'll occasionally post an unboxing video. So yeah, subscribe on YouTube as well, please.
Keep your eyes peeled. Stuff just pops up there. So
Yeah, no rhyme or reason. We say, you want to make a video of this? Yeah, let's make a video of that. And we throw it up.
especially for like the unboxing, if you can get your hands on stuff, we'll unbox. So keep your eyes peeled.
I am. And as always, hit us on social media. Like I mentioned, follow our Instagram. Feel free to send us a message. We'll happily reply if you have a suggestion or something you want to see on the show. I know we've had at least one person reach out to us about doing like being a guest on the podcast, and if having guests on the podcast is something that people would like to see, we could consider incorporating that, somewhat regularly into special episodes. But going back to Japan, I guess. Yeah, I didn't necessarily have a favorite moment. One of the most fun things, though, funny enough, we were on a tour for most of it. We would get up from 8 o'clock until 5 or 6 o'clock that day. We were on the go. We crammed so much into this trip. I feel like I took two vacations, like in one. Like that's how much stuff we got done on the trip. And by the time it would be over, you'd go get dinner, and then it's like 8, 9 o'clock. You're just so tired from the day's events, you go to bed. But my last night there in Osaka, uh, was not part of the tour. Was a day of all free time, and my wife and I, uh, went and we booked a karaoke booth, just the two of us, and we sang karaoke. And up there they had Americans will get a kick out of this. All you can drink alcohol for the duration of the time that you booked, and it was self serve.
Ooh. Whoa.
Yeah,
Sounds
so,
dangerous.
so I was looking around and I saw Suntory whiskey, which they have here in the U.S. But I was like, dang, I don't buy Suntory whiskey here. Um, so I'll drink it. I'll drink it in Japan. So I drank Suntory whiskey, just pouring it straight. I drink whiskey straight usually, so I'm just pouring like straight whiskey into a glass, taking it back to the karaoke room, and just drinking straight whiskey in between my songs. It was kind of crazy. So, you will never find all you can drink self serve in the U.S.
No, that's not a thing here.
or just self serve or just all you can drink. I don't find anything like that. Though you might say Americans, Americans would be too irresponsible with it, but in the place we did karaoke, there were about 10 other people, and one of the guys I was in the bathroom with at the same time definitely took too much of advantage of the all you can drink because he was not doing well. Dude was like staggering, bumping into the wall before he like before he walked out of the door. I'm like, I hope this guy finds his way home okay.
The trip sounded awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, once again, back to our Instagram, you can see some things we posted. I tried so much stuff. Kobe beef, Wagyu beef, Hita beef. I tried all the beefs uh, that come out of there, and they're fantastic. I ate less seafood on that trip than I expected, actually, because there's just beef everywhere, and it tasted so good.
Nice. Sounds amazing.
Yeah,
Glad you guys had a great time.
yeah. Well, yeah, this show is called Banter, so I guess maybe we should get into the anime banter.
Before
Sound
we get into it, I want to throw a quick shout out. My brother, who we'll just say lives in the Harrisburg area, actually bumped into a fan of ours. So I want to give a shout out to Trey. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Trey.
Thanks, Trey.
Tell your
Appreciate it.
friends.
Spread the word.
Today, we are talking about episodes 9 and 10 of Trigun Stampede. Episode 9, Millions Knives. Episode begins, and Knives is rocking the hot jams on the piano as a teen. I guess he's a teen. What do you consider plants that look like teens but are really like 200 years old? I don't know.
Good question.
But we get a pretty nice transition to when he was a child, and we see Vash join him on the piano, and they start playing together. Vash seems to be enjoying the piano playing. Knives seems like normal Knives, like, yeah, you're my brother. Glad you're here, but I'm not going to smile. Smiling is for weak people. I'm too busy jamming out my jams. Welcome to my jam sesh, the Knives Jam Sesh. Today, we're playing only the hottest millions jams.
He was so agitated when Vash sat down.
I mean, he was having a good jam session and he didn't want anyone to interrupt it.
And I don't know if anybody knows, is that an original piece that somebody wrote for the show, or is that a classical piece? I've never heard it before. That's a cool song.
I do not know.
I was really digging it.
I liked it a lot. I want to know, like, if they're going to release a soundtrack, I definitely want that to be on it. Like, I want to hear the whole piece. What is that? That's really cool.
So we go back to teenage Knives, and an alarm starts blaring, and it stops his jam session. And he goes and sees a bunch of dead and dying plants. And one thing I noticed was how terrified the plants looked as they were dying. And it was just nice to see Knives actually care about something and not be a total asshole all the time.
Yeah, the image of the plants was definitely a little shocking for sure. And, like, I totally get where Knives is coming from. He's just, I guess, an extremist is what you would call him, where he's just like, well, all humans are evil, so I must murder them all.
And he sees, I mean, he is a plant, so he's like, they're hurting my people, so I have a way to fight back, so I'm going to.
It's really hard in some ways to view Knives from Knives' perspective, and the best villains are the heroes of their own story, right? Um, he's saving his people. He's the savior of the plants. Because the humans, they exploit us. We're slaves. Like, I'm freeing the slaves. That's how he
Yeah,
views this.
yeah.
He's a liberator. Um, but the problem is what comes with it is, genocide of the human race, which usually that's, there's a difference between liberator and genocide, or maybe, I guess. Uh, and that's where the line kind of makes him a villain. But he's very close to being the hero of this story if, we're a bunch of plants watching at home.
Maybe we are a bunch of plants watching at home.
No, we're definitely the humans. Just
Plot twist.
I don't
We
know.
were plants all along.
I can be a pretty big couch potato. So a bunch of Xseed workers come in and they start yelling at Knives and saying that he can't be there. And we then see the reunion of Vash and Knives from the end of episode 8. And Knives is pretty much just like well, you're going to kill the plants, so fuck them. Gonna kill you guys. And he just goes Wolverine with the blades coming out of his hands.
Wolverine!
Wolverine!
I was also thinking Wolverine.
He even
And
had
if,
the one coming out of his foot, like what's the
X-23.
X-23?
Yeah.
and of course, Knives decides to take someone's arm off.
Well,
It's just what he does.
he hates arms.
I was thinking of the jerk whenever he takes off. Instead of he hates these cans, he hates these arms.
That's a great movie, by the way.
He hates these arms. He has to have a reason for hating arms so much and wanting to chop them off.
It's almost like the Star Wars meme where somebody's losing a hand or a limb or something. It just happens.
Similar thing.
So Knives tells Vash that he wants to make a paradise for just plants and to kill all the humans. And Vash believes what Rem said, and that plants need humans. That if the humans did not exist, the plants would just be almost like a solar flare, explode one time, release all their energy, and then just die anyways without any moderation. And Knives is like, how can you believe such idiocy? Rem was dumb. You're dumb for believing it. I'm right. You're wrong. Now, follow my lead and listen to your big brother like you usually do.
He's got a little bit of survivorship bias there, by the way. Because he's a plant who can free roam, like Vash can. So like they don't have problems that other plants may have, like fizzling out and things like that. So it's really bold of him to assume that all the plants would be totally fine if it wasn't for the humans.
I really love this next scene because, it's dark, but we see so much of Vash in it. We learn that Knives is the one who gives Vash his gun. The same gun Vash uses in present day is a gun that Knives gave him.
The Trigun?
Oh,
Bum bum bum.
I think it's just a regular gun, actually. It's just a regular gun.
And Knives wants Vash to kill Lita and to prove to Knives that he is on his side. And Vash refuses to do it. And Knives says, okay, well, where would you be without your big brother? And I'll kill Lita for you. And Vash loses control. And he opens his gate, which appears to be a black hole, and starts sucking random stuff off. Yes, I said what I said.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say anything, but you got to.
just snuck that in there.
Yep. My wife and I have been watching Ghost on CBS, and the joke is when a ghost goes finally leaves purgatory and goes into the afterlife, they call it getting sucked off.
Uh, I'm also watching Ghosts, by the way.
It's so damn good.
Yeah, it's like really funny. I like that the stakes are pretty low, so like you just put on like a half-hour episode during your lunch break. It's like it's all good.
But every time they say getting sucked off, I lose it. And whenever Vash's black hole was going off, all I could think of was people getting sucked off.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't know. Vash opening his gate to reveal a hole is just like too. It's too much.
And did I call it or did I call it? But Knives took Vash's arm.
Yep.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
I
He
mean, it made.
hates he hates all arms. Human
It,
arms, plant arms, he doesn't care.
I don't know if it was he hates Vash's arm or if he was just trying to save Vash's life or save his own ass. Or a little bit of everything, all the above.
Probably all the above.
But we see deep down Knives does really love Vash in some weird, twisted way.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about Knives is, like Sean mentioned, he is the hero of his story and he believes what he's doing is the right thing. And despite Vash making it very clear that he's not really on Knives' side completely, yes, Vash wants to save plants, but Vash also wants to save the humans. And Knives wants to murder all the humans. Knives still, in this episode at least, he's still going out of his way to like not kill Vash.
I don't know if Knives, even in later in the next episode, is really going out of his way so much to kill Vash. More so, Vash, you and I are alike. You need to be more like me, and I will do whatever I can to make you be like me.
Yeah, like he doesn't want Vash to be his own person. He just wants him to follow behind Knives and just do whatever Knives wants.
It was cool to learn that Brad is the one who built Vash's arm.
That's a cool
And
looking arm.
it is. It's also interesting to just see how that relationship grew over the years. From Brad not being a fan of Vash at all to, all right, I'll build your arm. I'll fix it when you break it, but stop breaking it, please.
I like that little bit there.
And Brad and Louita are still living in the present day, which was awesome.
I was surprised by that.
I was too. I thought for sure those two would have passed between when Vash first met them and lost his arm to present day.
Well, just so you know, how storytelling is right. They say this character's 150 years old. They show characters from their past, and obviously the villain, Millions Knives, is going to come in and kill everyone Vash cares about, and then it's an easy storytelling method, right? It's cliche. You see it 1,000 times. It's like one of the first times I've seen the mentor character not killed off, like by the villain in the past, and then they have to resolve that later. It's like, no, he didn't kill them. They're still here. And I'm like, what? That's so weird. I'm just so used to a certain like level of storytelling that it just felt weird.
And we learned that the two of them have known Vash for 150 years, and they don't age when they enter a cold sleep, which appeared to be the same sleep that the passengers were in on the ship when Vash was a kid.
Where can I
But
get one of them cold sleep chambers?
yeah, I'm gonna need one for like a couple weeks after. Just let me sleep through allergy season, please.
I say, I wish I could sleep through winter every year. I hate winter. I hate the cold. I'd love
I
to just
do
become
too.
a bear.
I vote for that as well.
Grant, winters around here haven't been as bad the past couple years.
Yeah,
True.
Earth's on fire.
Yeah. Eventually every day will just be 70 degrees here, and everything south of Pennsylvania will just be gone.
The way summers have been around here these days, Pennsylvania may be included in that list. It's move to Canada or bust.
Well, I mean, Canada is still on fire. I think
Oh crap. Yeah.
there's nowhere safe to run.
Yeah. Alaska maybe.
But then you have to deal with the darkness.
Well, price to pay.
Yeah,
And the brightness. Don't they have days where there's like no night?
they do. My brother-in-law actually in the summers, he's a guide in Alaska. He's been doing it for the past couple years now. I forget what city it is. It's one of the big tourist where a lot of the cruise ships land, and he takes them out on expeditions throughout the city, like rock climbing and ice climbing and everything. And like it's pretty much daylight 22, 23 hours of the day.
Yeah, that's nuts.
I loved the greenhouse scene. I mean, we are now on episode 9, and it's all been brown and reds and like darker colors. And to just get a short scene with so many vibrant colors was incredible.
Really pretty scene.
Good music during it too. I like the soundtrack when they were like revealing everything. Uh, Fantastic scene.
And leave it to Roberto to not believe any of the mumbo jumbo that Luita's talking about in regards to the flora. He thinks it's all a bunch of BS and no way that this could ever be replicated on a larger scale.
Hey, like this is an art installation, pretty much. You know, he's like, "Now you created these in a lab, and like, there's no purpose to them."
And he's wondering how many plants it took to power and everything. Like, he's so cynical that he's like, this will never work outside of this area.
Yep.
I mean, we all like Roberto, but he's I don't know. Like we've been saying, he's been like a realist this whole time. This episode, he's very like negative Nancy. You know?
I think part of it is just years of seeing. I think he's without hope. It's the jaded factor of his job, and there are times where he lets the jadedness fade, but it's still his fallback. He's he's seen how shitty that this planet has been, how much they rely on the plants and everything, and he knows it's like the end of days, pretty much.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard for me to put myself in that kind of a situation because I'm just a very different person in a very different scenario. So he just seems really negative in this one. Which part of it I think is for comedy's sake, but and a part of it's true because I mean, how long did it take them to grow just that? And she's talking about covering the entire planet, which would be great, but again, how long is that going to take? So he's constantly just like negative, 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 and there's truth to that, but I like a little bit of positive to. I try to put a positive spin on everything in my life, and I was just like, he was really negative this episode.
I think it's to balance Meryl out. It seems like this show does a very good job of balancing their characters out. You have Vash and Wolfwood. You have Roberto and Meryl.
Yeah, I agree. Just wanted to point that out.
Oh, absolutely. I loved how Roberto was choking when he learned he couldn't smoke on the ship, and then Meryl freaking out when Roberto actually called her Meryl and not newbie.
That part had me cracking up.
She's like, "Yes, finally, some respect from you."
He's like, no, I didn't. What are you
It's
talking
like,
about?
I definitely did not call you Meryl. I definitely called you Neryl. Yeah, I called you newbie and Meryl as one. Yeah, don't know who this Meryl person you're talking about is, newbie. I never met this Meryl before in my life. Now go find me somewhere to smoke and drink. So Vash is talking to Wolfwood, and it's very cool to see the two of them and Brad talking, and Brad saying how he used to just be like Wolfwood in regards to Vash, and how much Vash has changed Brad in the years that they've known each other. And Vash says he'll never kill again, or he'll never kill, or he'll never kill again. And I'm like, I was trying to think, I'm like, who did he ever kill before? Unless he still blames himself for the ship crashing and thinking he killed all those people. But like, we haven't seen him directly kill anyone.
Yeah, I mean, that was my assumption is he blames himself for what happened to the ship crash. So he is, in his mind, he's responsible for killing all those people.
Yeah, I think that's probably it, but we don't know everything about his backstory. Who knows?
So Luita runs in to the meeting between the three, and we learn, and she's out of breath, a little shaken up, and we learn that worms attacked the greenhouse, and we see Meryl and Roberto awaken on Zazzy's ship. And I just love how Roberto's first thought is asking if he can smoke on this ship. Not, where are we? What the hell happened? Like, where did those worms come from? No, can I smoke here? And Zazzy shows up and asks, what side should the worms side with? Humans or plants? And Roberto tries to shoot Zazzy, and we learn that their whole body is made up of worms. And like, this form is just for ease of understanding for Roberto and Meryl and the rest of the people in the show.
Yeah, that was pretty wild when I saw that.
Zazie shot up from on the interesting character list, right? Say interesting character rank out of 10, right? Zazie was like a 2 out of 10 interesting character. I was like, oh, just another one of these weird human creations by Knives and the Mad Doctor. And then she's like, oh no, I represent like the indigenous people or the indigenous creatures of this planet. Like, you're here and we want to decide which one of you are going to benefit us the most, the worms. And I was like, oh, this is like a third faction. It's like humans versus plants. Worms are also something to consider. And that drove my interest in the character from like a 2 out of 10 to like a 9 out of 10. Because I'm like, oh, this person is like an emissary for an entire race of beings on this planet, pretty much. And I don't know. I thought it was really interesting that Zazie could switch sides by the end.
I definitely agree with that. It was cool to see that character get a little bit more screen time. We learn a lot more about them. It felt like originally they were just going to be like a villain of the week,
That's what it
and
felt like. Yeah.
now it's like, oh, Zazie has like a big part of the story.
So I'm looking forward to seeing more Zazie.
Absolutely.
And a nice twist, if you want to call it that, is that we learned Earth was actually a planet in this universe. And shocking, the humans destroyed it.
What? No, we'd never.
Yeah, and then Elon Musk discovered the plants. No, I'm just. Yeah, I'm kidding.
We find out that Knives is collecting the red plants, and Meryl wants to know why. And William shows up saying that's confidential. But Zazie says, I'll tell you, but only if you tell me whose side I should join and who will save the planet. Because she does not believe that the humans have their planet in their best interest.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. If I was Zazie and I had to pick between the two, the plants probably have the planet's best interested at heart. Just saying what I know about humans.
Yeah, but from what we've seen from Knives, does Knives really give a shit about the worms?
No, plant supremacy is his goal.
Yeah.
Turtle and Sean, do you want to discuss how this episode might compare to the original Trigun?
Well, I had mentioned before in a previous podcast that Zazie is in the original Trigun show. Especially with this episode, they're very, 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 very different. Zazie, as Sean said, is become much more important with this episode. So I'm very curious to see what Zazie does in the future here. But really, beyond that, I really don't have anything else to say comparative wise. This is beginning to branch so far away from the original show, doing its own thing. I really don't have anything to compare it to.
Well, right, because we didn't even have Brad and Louita. Like, they weren't even in the original show.
I think the character Brad was, but he was very different.
Yeah, like he had a very different role. Like he's
Yes.
pretty much a different character, is what I
Yeah,
mean.
he honestly
Like,
he is.
yeah. So
But
for me, I was just like, huh, okay, that's we're getting brand new Trigun content, which I'm happy it's not just a retelling of the original series.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like the original show and all, but this is something new and different. So I'm just curious to see where it goes.
And with that, it is time for Mike's Beer of the Week. This week's beer is Southern Tier's Vanilla Scoop. It is an 8.6% Imperial Ale. Southern Tier is their main brewery is located in Lakewood, New York, but they also have a tap room here in Pittsburgh where you can find exclusive Pittsburgh beers. This beer was brewed in collaboration with Perry's Ice Cream, where Southern Tier used Perry's vanilla and milk sugar. I've actually been to the location in Lakewood. It's a really cool place. My brother-in-law lives pretty close, within an hour of Southern Tier, and the one year my wife and I went up and visited him, and we hit a bunch of breweries up around Southern Tier and in that area. And the Southern Tier facility was massive. Had a really cool outdoor area set up with cornhole and ladder golf and a really nice stage for bands to play at in the summertime. I would definitely recommend checking out the Southern Tier location in Lakewood if you're in the area or have thought about going up to check it out. As for the beer itself, I was, go figure, congested when I had this. Thanks a lot, allergies. So I couldn't smell too much of it when I sniffed it. I got a faint vanilla smell, and it could have been stronger had I actually been able to breathe through my nose. But the world will never know. But I will say, if you enjoy vanilla, you will really enjoy this beer. It has a very strong vanilla flavor. It's very smooth for being 8.6%. Very, very dangerous with it being that alcohol content. And if you're a vanilla fan, it can knock you on your ass pretty quickly. Actually got this beer in a beer draft I did with some friends. Every month we do either a monthly board game night or a Magic the Gathering Commander night. And we usually try and do a beer draft while we do those. So I actually got this in a beer draft. But yeah, definitely recommend it. The Untapped average rating was a 3.95, and I would give it a 3.75. Episode 10, Humanity. The episode begins with Vash and Wolfwood charging towards July to save Meryl and Vash. And Vash hears on the radio about the plants that Knives is stealing, and the government in July is denying any involvement, which was very interesting to hear because, I mean, we're on episode 10, and really there has never been any sort of talk about government. It's more or less been the Wild Wild West each and every episode. We don't know if there's presidents, governors, mayors, whatever, like, and now it's like, oh, the government is denying all claims of this. We don't know who's doing it. It just felt a little out of place.
Yeah, it almost seems like every city is just doing its own thing. So like the government maybe is only for the city of July because they don't ever talk about like, yeah, an overarching government for an area or the entire planet. So I'm
Yeah,
wondering if each city is like left to figure that stuff out on their own and run their own way.
that's what I was thinking. They're almost like a bunch of city states, more so than there is like one unified government.
Zazie is still waiting for Meryl to explain why the worm should side with the humans. And Knives told Zazie the reason to side with the plants is that humans will devour the plants just like they did everything else on Earth. And they'll devour the worms if need be too, just to survive. Zazie tells Meryl and Roberto about the last run, and when that came up, Roberto sort of perked up and is starting to realize what Knives wants with the red plants. And we learned that the last run is like right before the plants die. It's like one last exertion of their energy. Roberto picks up on it. Meryl doesn't. So it'd be very interesting to see what Knives' endgame is with the red plants. Then we see Meryl telling Zazie about Lolita in the greenhouse and, hey, we don't need to rely on the plants. Like, there's another way. And William walks in, and William actually knows Lolita, and he believes that it's all a big waste of time. But it's just interesting to see because here we are seeing William creating monsters and like torturing orphans, and we're always meant to believe that William is a villain. And here we learn that no, he knows, like, he is part of Project Xseed. He knows Lolita. He thinks her way is wrong, and he's doing it his own way to try and save the human race. I really liked the look of July. And when we saw the city, it reminded me of Vegas. All the lights, the billboards. I guess you could say Vegas, Times Square, either one. And we learned that July holds all the water producing plants and therefore have an unlimited amount of money.
Yeah, I was thinking about that and how I think about city like Dubai and how it's like it just like flaunts its extreme wealth because of like the oil money. And when you're the only one who holds a resource, like you have a monopoly on not wants but needs, you just make a disgusting amount of money. Like that's what you do. You just make a ton of money. And as you can see, people flock to it. People give their resources to it. Um, and it looks for this world anyway, probably the most prosperous place we've seen outside of that greenhouse with all the flora.
And I thought it was cool to see the city of July as well, because we don't really see July in the original show, and I'll leave it at that.
It's also really cool to see how different July looked than every other location we've been to prior. Everything else has been so run down, and here's July thriving.
Yeah, the other towns looked almost like, they looked really nice at one point, but they've just been so worn down, lack of maintenance. July is like, you know, full tilt. It's got everything.
So then we see the police officer from episode 1, and they're chasing Vash down, and one of the officers on the unit shoots Vash and blames him for what happened to Janora's Rock, and believes Vash is the one who destroyed it, not Knives. And that police officer is like, "Oh, I didn't order him to shoot. It wasn't my fault. We're all good here, right?"
That was the same guy from Janora's Rock who challenged Vash to a duel and whipped out a rocket launcher from out of nowhere. So I thought it was
Yes.
kind of funny to see their interaction. He's like, "I know who you are. I'm not going to make you mad or anything. We're all cool. See ya. Bye."
Also, I was doing the same thing. I looked at him and I saw him point his gun towards Vash. And I'm like, "Hey, that's a really cool golden gun." I'm like, "Wait a minute, didn't we meet a guy a little while back with a golden gun also?" And then it indeed was that same guy, also terrified of Vash. But yeah, Vash continues to get blamed for atrocities he did not commit.
And before we jump into the stuff with William and Luita, I want to just jump ahead a little bit. Vash thanks Wolf after Vash and Wolfwood run away. Vash thanks Wolfwood for not shooting anyone. And holy shit, is Vash beaten up from all the years of being shot at and chased and who knows what else, all the fights.
Yeah, that's a really cool scene, and they do have a scene similar in the original show. It's set up very different, but like the reveal of the shape of Vash's body and how much he's been through. It was cool to see it in here the same way as it was to see it in the other show.
So we learn William believes that Luita's plan will take too long, and by the time it's successful, humans may have gone extinct. And we learn the reason he experimented on Wolfwood and E.G. Mind and Livio was to try to create a new form of humanity that can survive in the desert without food and water. But he also believes that they were all failures because at some point they eventually needed food and water.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thought because once again, there are a lot of shades of gray in this series. Like, Knives believes that he's the savior of his people. William believes that he has to save humanity. He says humanity will go extinct if I do not, like, these experiments are horrible and terrible and I don't want to do them. But like if I don't do something, humanity will go extinct. I have to fix humanity. So in his eyes, he's also doing, humanity a service. Uh, well, I'm not going to say a service, but he's working hard to help save humanity. So that's another shade of gray where, like, short-term atrocities, potentially long-term positive solutions. Do the ends justify the means? And I guess that's for the viewer to decide.
And I mean, Mero and Roberto sort of call him out on, like, okay, well, you still experimented on children. Like, that's still a shitty thing to do. And William believes that he saved them because they were all living a life of poverty or illness, and they were all going to die soon eventually. So why not experiment them and try and give them a better life and be a way to save humanity?
I have a feeling poverty in this world is actually far more brutal than it is in the modern USA. We have like some social safety net programs here in America, but I imagine in the Trigun world, there is no safety net. If you can't work to earn your keep, you just starve. If you didn't have wealthy parents, then you yourself are going to be poor the rest of your life, probably working in, I don't know, a mine or some whatever miserable place there is that you can work. So in some ways, poverty may be a death sentence in this world or close to it, with an extremely short life expectancy, even shorter than it is in our world today.
And just to play devil's advocate, I guess, besides like Wolfwood and E.G. Mine, especially with Livio, and I don't remember the other character's name. Livio and the other character, they don't really seem like they have their own sense of self, like they're being controlled. So, is that really a way to live?
I mean, it seems like you're still not being a human. Like you have no free will, you have no choice. You're doing whatever the hell William or the church or Blue Summers wants you to do.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wouldn't call that living, but that's me. So, I think Dr. Billy is a little extreme here.
Yeah, I think most people would actually rather just live an orphan than end up the way that any of these people ended up, pretty much.
I mean, really, the only one that ended up somewhat okay was Wolfwood, and that's because he broke out.
Yeah. And Vash is like the the angel on the shoulder trying to guide him in a different direction. So without Vash, who knows where Wolfwood would be?
We then learn that the girl that we always see with William is a clone of Knives, and her name is Elandera, and that she is neither human nor plant. And William believes that he has finally found the perfect balance to save humanity with her. And Meryl wants to get her out of the tank. Like Meryl believes that Elendera is dying in the tank and gonna drown. And we learn that Elendera, I can't even say her name, so I'm probably gonna say it 5 different ways. So sorry. And she hears Meryl and tries to attack Meryl through the holding tank. And we learn that, and she generates nails and starts attacking Meryl and Roberto. And really, I'm surprised she's not called Billions Nails or something.
Oh yeah, yep.
She's a
Which,
little crazy.
just a little bit. Also, speaking of nicknames, I want to circle back real quick. I love Roberto calling Knives 100 Spoons.
I was dying.
That's really good. We did kind of gloss over that.
It's a shame that we'll never hear him call Knives 1,000 Forks.
Yeah, the show doesn't have like a ton of comedy. Honestly, far less than I would have actually liked based on the original series. But they do sprinkle some in here and there, and I appreciate it. But like I said, with Roberto was one of the main sources of comedy, and we're not gonna be having quite as much comedy going forward.
I also love how Roberto shot at the nails. It adds to the comedic effect with Roberto. Like, oh, I know, I'll shoot these big ass nails with my gun. That'll help.
It was kind of funny how he hit two of them. I was like, honestly, they're giving Roberto too much credit here. This man's like running. There's no way you'd be able to shoot like those out of the sky, like those out of the air. There's no way.
And it's not like, I mean, we don't know for sure, but it's not like he was like some wartime soldier or something that had like great accuracy training or anything. Like, as far as we know, he was just a journalist. And sure,
Yeah.
maybe he, in his times as a journalist, he has had to get into some shootouts to survive. But I don't think some of that accuracy was like a little too good.
Well, maybe we'll get a spin-off show about Roberto's past in the future here.
And it's all about his mustache.
Absolutely. The day it grew in is the beginning of the show.
I loved the shootout between Wolfwood and Elendria. It was just so well animated. And Elendria sort of like faked Roberto out at first with like, "Oh, you would never shoot a young girl. Don't shoot me, please. I'm innocent." And like then she's like, "Just kidding. Fuck you, evil." And then like she gets hit by one of her own nails and she starts screaming in pain and how much she hates Wolfwood. And Vash goes up to her and is trying to console her and he wants to see her wound. And like she didn't really turn Vash away. Like it wasn't like, "Oh, no, screw you, I hate you." Like she didn't really accept it nor did she deny his like advances to console her. It was just sort of like there.
Didn't she call him a traitor?
She did.
Oh yeah, okay, so yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was pretty grumpy and didn't want Vash anywhere near her. She was like,
okay,
"Get away from me, you
I
traitor!"
viewed it as she was like, screw off, traitor.
okay. Forget what I said.
Get out my face, traitor.
But you're right though. I mean, it's not like she tried to like summon the nails and impale him though. You know what I mean? She told him off, and that was about it.
Yeah.
She didn't try and murder him.
And you have to wonder if that's partly because she's part Vash. Like, yes, she's a clone of Knives, but like Knives and Vash are twins, so
Yeah,
is
he's
she
like
that much?
her uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be it, because like she's fighting on the side of the plants. So even though Vash is siding with humans, he's still a plant. So she's not gonna like attack him. She just doesn't want to hang out and be friends with him.
And now let's all take a moment to pour one out for Roberto. I was so bummed whenever we saw the nail in his gut and knew it was a fatal blow. So, this smoke, this drink, this one's for you, Roberto. And Meryl blames herself for Roberto dying, and Roberto's like, yeah, it is your fault. It's your fault that I cut back on my smoking and drinking. And even in his dying moments, he gives her a hard time.
Yeah, that's just who he is.
It makes me wonder if for season 2, if we will regain Millie from the original series. Since we lost Roberto, they're kind of short a party member, maybe. So maybe Millie will make a reappearance.
That makes sense to me.
And before he passes, he gives Meryl his gun, calls her stubborn, and says, that's Meryl Strife for you. So in his dying moments, we see the amount of respect he does have for her after all the times of giving her shit.
Truly a great mustache.
Rest in peace, Roberto. We'll miss you on the show, seriously.
He added so much comedy to this show. He was one of my favorite characters to look forward to in each scene.
Yeah.
He just was so grounded. But now we're back to Trigun Radio, where we are hearing Knives playing those hot jams on the piano. Take it away, Knives! We learned that the monster that what we thought was a monster or some god that Knives was playing the piano to in the first episode was actually a dead plant. So that was a nice little callback. And it's like, oh, okay. Yes, Knives is crazy, but he still realizes, like, these are my people. I am going to save them however I can.
It's like a memorial to this plant that he may or may not have known.
And Knives believes deep down Vash is defending humanity because Vash blames himself for the crash over 150 years ago, and this is what Vash's way of atoning for it by being humanity's savior. So then we have a little tense meeting between Wolfwood and William, and we learn that Wolfwood's contract has been satisfied. And was that contract Wolfwood bringing Vash to Knives and William? We really don't know what the contract entails. And Wolfwood doesn't forgive William for what he did to Livio. And then we see a picture on William's desk of a young William and a child. And we learn that that child is a very young Knives with long hair. Or we assume that it's Knives, thanks to the callback. But at first, I honestly didn't think that was Knives at first. I thought it might be like William's daughter or something. Or another child that might have been on the ship.
Yeah, I was kind of confused. I feel like it's something we may get an answer about later.
It's like we've never seen Knives with long hair before. And like the flashback made you want to believe that it was Knives, but I don't know. I still don't think it was Knives or Vash.
Maybe that was the first time that Dr. Billy cut Knives' hair. That was right before the first haircut.
Huh.
Yes, I'm going to call him Dr. Billy from now on.
Now we know his name. Finally. Or maybe we already knew it. I don't know. I can't keep track of all these characters.
I agree.
They show a guy 2 times. You expect me to remember his name?
I think they mentioned it in just an episode or 2 back. But yeah, I'm calling him Dr. Billy.
Dr. Billy, the humanity savior. But wait, there's more. I'm going to operate on this orphan to try and save humanity.
And then I'm going to cut Knives' hair.
So Knives promises to put Vash out of his misery, and it's a trap. Opens a trap door using the piano. This felt like some Jabba opening the Rancor pit.
That stuff, this cracked me up because I'm like, did this dude legit build a trap door in the middle of his organ room? Are you kidding me? Like it's some cartoon villain. I mean, he is a cartoon villain. There's some like children's cartoon villain tier stuff right here.
It's so cliche. I loved it.
Yeah, I was down with it actually.
It was so incredible. He was just like, piano notes, trapdoor opens, and then you go.
And Vash like shoots off a cord to try and save himself, and Vash Knives is like, nope. You know my name is Knives, right? I'm gonna just generate this knife and cut the rope. But hey, I'm your future. And then Vash falls into a pool of water, and Knives says, all shall be even once more, which feels very dark for how we end this episode.
Oh yeah.
It's also like, okay, he fell into a pit of like not how I expected like this trap door to end. It's like, oh, okay, trap door. Oh, he fell like 10, 15 feet into a pool of water. Like, not spikes, not like an endless pit, just a pool of water. Where does that water lead to? Is it like something for the plants? Not how I expect it. Usually, when you see trapdoor, you expect something way worse.
I just like how Knives walked up to the cord that Vash shot out of his arm, and he's like, "Did you forget my name is Knives?" And he cuts the cord.
Turtle, is there anything more in this episode you want to compare to the original Trigun? I know as we were going through, you were comparing some stuff, so I didn't know if there was anything more.
No, I really got nothing else. This is veered so far away from the original. There's really nothing else I can think of.
Yeah,
To
I was thinking the same thing.
this is doing its own thing now, which I'm in for. It's just I got nothing to compare.
Overall, what did you guys think of these two episodes?
I really liked them. Not only do we get some more flashback with Vash and Knives, and we start to learn more about Knives' plan, kind of, or, with him gathering the plants, and we're beginning to see the end game. We have 2 episodes left of the show, it looks like, and Knives is gonna start doing his plan, whatever that is. So we're gonna start to figure that out. So I thought these were good. They're good setups for the final 2 episodes, and I'm just excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I also have enjoyed these 2 episodes. I'm looking forward to watching the last two. It definitely feels like the story is not really anywhere close to being done. So I'm glad that season 2 discussions have, yeah, like we're getting a season 2, right? So we need it because I feel like we're not even close. A lot of unanswered questions.
I really loved episode 9. It was really cool to see how Knives came to be so evil, and just to get some backstory on Knives. It's like, oh, okay, here's the main villain of the show. Oh, okay, like just to get more information about him was really cool to see.
And Zazzy and William,
Yes.
like we got all these backstories on them, and I'm like, what the heck? These characters were like you said, villain of the week type of villains. Oh, the mad scientist and the bug girl that they're just gonna slap later. Um, and I'm like, oh wait, these are actually like somewhat complex characters with like real motives besides being evil or worshiping the villain. And I'm like, oh, all of a sudden this show got way better over the course of like one episode.
These two characters have more backstory than Blue Summers, who has a crap ton of power, but we know nothing about.
That is very true.
Yeah, Blue Summers has not really been in the show all that much, as opposed to the original show where he is more prominent in that show.
I feel he'll be more prominent in season 2.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say I'm sure we're gonna see a lot more of Blue Summers in season 2.
I enjoyed episode 10. I thought it started a little slow. There was a lot of world building still, with there being 2 episodes left after this. But I love the shootout, and man, was I bummed when Roberto died. The one thing I'm bummed about, though, like, I really wish we had more episodes this season. Like, it feels like things are finally. It feels like all the world building is out of the way to a point, and here we are coming to the last 2 episodes of the season, right when things were like starting to pick up.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot more to go here.
Like I feel like season 2 is just going to be 0 to 60 right off the get-go, where it feels like for most of this season we were stuck in first gear. So I wish we had even 4 to 6 more episodes of this season.
Yeah, I feel like the story has been kind of adjusted and rewritten and crammed into certain episodes more so than others, just to try to fit into 12 episodes for this. So I'm interested to see where season 2 goes. Maybe we'll get a little less world building now that they kind of crammed as much into season 1 as they could, and we'll get more, story and character stuff going on. So I don't know. We'll see.
And with that, we come to the waifu of the week. Turtle, who did you pick and why?
Well, for this week, I have to side with our mustached boy, Roberto. We lost him in episode 10. So I feel like I have to pick him. He's been a great sense of a grounded character, as well as a great comedic character, where he just has these subtle one-liners that just pop up and catch us off guard and make us laugh. So just along with the great mustache, I just we lost Roberto, man. It hit kind of hard, so I gotta go with Roberto.
Sean, who did you pick and why?
So with about 12 minutes left in episode 10, when they're like, the nails just start flying, I was looking at Waifu of the Week, and I was like, I kind of like Meryl these past 2 episodes. I think she's been like really enjoyable. Like, she's really been pushing forward, very curious. At times where they said don't look, Roberto be like, hey, let's just turn around and go home. She's like, well, hold up, like, we need to know more. We got to help Vash. We got to help figure these things out. And as journalists, it's kind of like their duty to do that sort of thing. Well, then Roberto died, so then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we have to go with Roberto. So it's not really a competition at that point. Rest in peace, Roberto. You will be missed greatly.
Yep, make it a sweep. Where I'm also going Roberto for what the two of you have already said. Just the comedic effect he brought into the show, the groundedness, the one-liners, and everything about Roberto. He will deeply be missed in this show. So, Roberto, here's to you. Here's to a real one. Thank you all for joining us this week as we watch Trigun Stampede. We hope you join us next week for episode 13 of the Anime Banter podcast, where we will watch episodes 11 and 12 of Trigun Stampede. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews. Turtle, do you have anything you would like to plug?
As always, you can find me on my YouTube channel, RPG Treasure Trove. I sit down with a friend, couch co-op style, and play an RPG game. So if that's something you're interested in, please stop by. Subscribe. I really appreciate it. Feel free to leave some comments. I try to respond to those as much as I can. So if you want to talk with me, hop on over to RPG Treasure Trove on YouTube.
Sean, do you have anything you would like to plug?
Yep, as I've been plugging the past few times, the Demon Files podcast, plus the Demon Files podcast and Anime Banter will be at TECO 2023, July 20th through 23rd at the Pittsburgh Convention Center. Hope to see you there. We'll have a booth in the dealer's room.
And I know by the time this airs, it'll be a little over a week since the passing of Stan Savran. But just wanted to pay my respects to a Pittsburgh sportscasting legend here.
The Godfather of Pittsburgh sports.
The Godfather of Pittsburgh sports.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. My dad and I would always listen to Stan either on the radio, TV, sports feed, whatever it was. And so with that, Stan, loved the show. Rest in peace. The Anime Banter podcast can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you all for joining, and we will talk to you next week.